In this second part of the data correction video, I'm going to run through how to perform a drift correction and an offset correction to a specific region of the data set. Now, the procedure is pretty standard no matter what actual correction you apply to the section of data, whether it be a deletion, a drift correction, a fouling drift. The procedure is always going to remain the same, and I'll run through exactly what that procedure is. Now, one thing you need to do is basically zoom into that particular region that you're interested in. So I'm going to select my magnifying glass and move in and highlight that region. So this is the overview pane, and we can see that we've zoomed into that section. Now, the second step is to basically tell AQUARIUS that we're interested in this region of data. So when we do that by clicking the Mark Region button and then selecting within this target signal pane this section of data. Now, obviously there'll be some sort of reasoning behind this. I'm doing this as an example, so the dates to me are not that important, but we can fine-tune the dates and say, okay, we want the end date to actually be this data point right here. So these are the data points that are given this kind of number, and they can also be found here. So if I click the down arrow until it stops right there, so we know that it's from this region to this region. Actually, if I increase that a little bit and move that back, okay, there you go. So this is the region where we're going to apply the correction, the drift correction, and we select that drift correction in the action drop down menu, and we have two options. We have a calibration drift that we can apply to that data set, or we can apply a fouling drift. And all this means is when it comes to log it within that correction history manager, it will basically put in this is a calibration drift that was applied to the section of data, or a fouling drift. So it's purely kind of a label. So I'm going to apply, let's say, a calibration drift, and I can either type in that kind of value. This will be a prorated drift correction. So I can apply that kind of absolute value that will be applied prorated along that section of data, or I can actually do it manually, visually, by clicking on that endpoint and dragging it up. And I can drag it up onto this kind of area right here. And if I'm happy with that, what I can do then is hit the apply button. And that basically means that I want to apply this correction to that data set. So the first thing that appears is the correction history manager, which is basically logging that drift value of 6.16 to that section of data. We can even give it a grading if we wish during this moment, and a comment as well. And if there's any saved comments that we have, we can also add them too. So the moment I hit OK, that correction is applied to that data set, and if I move to the correction history manager, it's logged at the bottom there. So these points, the start and end time, when I've actually performed this correction, and what's actually being corrected. So all of that's being logged. So one other thing I may wish to do in this example would be to apply a offset correction. And one way I can do that is, again, the same procedure. I can highlight that region to say I'm interested in, let's say, from here to here, and again fine tune it, move that last point down. And then what I can do is select that this time we want to apply an offset correction, and again we can either type it in, use the up and down toggle keys, adjust that step that we move through that, or again just grab that section and move it up. So we're going to move it up until it kind of aligns with that discrete sample points, like so. And again we hit apply, hit OK, and that correction history manager records that second change, and it's updated both the graphical representation and the grid view format too. And that concludes the corrections of drift and offset corrections.